What is up, everyone, and welcome on in to episode 21 of the regular season. And as always, my name's Nelstar, and I'm joined by Ant and Nate. Boys, AFC and NFC Championship weekend has come and gone. The Super Bowl and the Pro Bowl are in our sights. How was your weekend, Nate? How'd you enjoy the games this weekend?
My weekend was awesome, man. These games were incredible. I got my fiance to put her first cheeky little sports bet on with me. We both put some change on the Bengals because I said this was going to be a wild upset and it was going to be crazy, and I was right. So that's it. I'm feeling great. Great weekend, free dinner. What more could I ask for?
Ant, how are you, sir? I mean, we watched the game together, but
we did. Fantastic weekend. It was good. A lot of sporting events. Obviously, we know who's in the Super Bowl, and hopefully, I'll have a Bengals jersey by the time the Super Bowl gets here.
That was a busy weekend. I had to go from the Royal Rumble to NFC AFC Championship. It was great. Even though the Royal Rumble, that's a different podcast. That's a different podcast. Ooh. All right. Anywho, I mean, so it was the championship weekend. Let's hop into the first game. Everyone thought the Chiefs were putting the Bengals out to pasture, and here comes Money Evan McPherson. Money McPherson, we'll call him, with another game-winning field goal. Nate, how did the Bengals beat the Chiefs when everyone said it couldn't be done?
I can't believe the defensive performance that they were able to bring out in the second half. Like, this was one of those games that was like the classic worst nightmare situation. You tune in, you're like, okay, yeah, there's an underdog team, but they got Jamar Chase, they got Joe Burrow, Mixon. We like all these guys. We think that they're good. We think they can play ball, but it's the Chiefs. Pat Mahomes is destined to go to another Super Bowl. They've still, they've got Tyreek Hill. Like, some of their playmakers are healthy, Creed Humphrey, etc. But man, I feel like there's the electricity in that final drive of the half. It was the two big things. First was getting down the field and actually getting some points on the board before halftime for the Bengals. That was fantastic. But the defensive stop, Kansas City just doing a dump off pass to Tyreek Hill, 5 yards outside the end zone with no timeouts. And what was it, like 5 seconds on the clock? There was no possible way they could run another play if he didn't get out of bounds or in the end zone. And that I don't know. It immediately went to halftime, right? We had that huge break, but I got to take a second to breathe here. But that was, for me, that was like one of the most magical moments. I got so amped up. I got so pumped. And they just came out swinging. What a beautiful game.
Beautiful game. Down, 21-3 at one point, and Ant, somehow the Bengals turned it all on. We may have lost Ant. I don't know. He's frozen. But Nate.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you. That's fine. Yeah, we can hear you. All right. Your camera's frozen, but we can hear you. So, Ant, let's talk about this. You're down 21-3. And you're the Bengals. Joe Burrow, for once, is not running for his life on every play. What did they do to kind of right the ship?
That locker room talk was phenomenal. To go out in the second half and only allow 3 points to a high-power offense, they went into their bag. They did. I was shocked. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't able to catch the full game here, but the fact is, I looked at like the score. I was like, "Oh, Kansas City has it in the bag." They were up 21-3. Everything was good. I literally went to go do work, and then boom, this is what's going on. The Bengals are winning, and I can't believe it. And it's kind of funny. Mahomes threw a pick, but 13 seconds into the overtime. I think that was kind of funny because last week 13 seconds to get into there. So this was remarkable. I'm really happy. Even though I did pick the Chiefs, I'm so happy for the Bengals.
It's funny because we talked about it last week, and we talked about like everything that the Bengals have to do in order to compete with the Chiefs. And one of the big things was Joe Mixon. And Nate, you and I talked about this. Joe Mixon had a habit in the divisional round of breaking or juking out of open lanes into a tackle. And it happened frequently. This time, do you think Joe Mixon racking up 88 yards on the ground, another 27 in the air, do you think that was one of the key factors that got them? Because Jamar Chase was held under 100 yards, too. Let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, this was a game where everybody really had to contribute, and it opened up a couple of different things, right? Obviously, Joe Mixon had to step up in the rushing game, but P. Ryan on the passing side of things,
God.
like you can't overlook. Like everybody chipped in the way that you would expect. Because I thought Jamar Chase still had a pretty good game. I expected him to be pretty heavily defended on the defensive side of things, but T. Higgins was incredibly impressive to watch as well. Like just so many people caught so many passes, and perhaps the most impressive part to me was a lot of those tough third downs. Joe Burrow taking the ball and going with it. It's the kind of thing that makes me really nervous after last season, but in the playoffs, like this is it, right? A couple of moves like that, putting your body on the line for one play could be the difference between making it or not. And well, hey, it worked out. It was beautiful to see. But yeah, I mean, Burrow and Pirine really stood out for me. I think Mixon obviously helped a lot, but it's a good game.
Yeah. I mean, and this isn't to discredit how the Chiefs play, because and they got to Burrow once, right? And one sack is better than no sacks. Let's be honest. They held him to a 55 QBR, and they still had 140 yards on the ground. But where did it go wrong for the Chiefs? I mean, can you put this squarely on one person, or was this just a fundamental disaster for the team as a whole?
I think it was a mental breakdown. I think the fact is they felt good going into the half, and the thing is they shouldn't, because they don't have the type of defense that can lock up and make sure they can secure the win. Their defense is a bend and it does break type of defense. So it was just, it showed the lack of leadership at that moment. I'm not saying the Chiefs didn't have leadership, but it showed the lack of it in the second half. Coaching, I feel like there was something that was a disconnect. Maybe we'll find out something later on with it. It just something wasn't right. But let's not forget Cincinnati came out and they had the never say die type of attitude. So
yeah, agree. I mean, Jerick McKinnon out here playing Moneyball, trying to get himself a contract somewhere. 12 carries for 65 yards. You love to see it. I mean, listen. I'm not gonna rub it in everyone's face that I picked the Bengals before the wild card round started to go to the Super Bowl. I'm not gonna rub it in the face that whenever everyone was picking bandwagon teams, I hopped on the Bengals before anyone else. Like, I'm not gonna bring up these details constantly. That I picked the Bengals to win the Super Bowl 4 weeks ago. Let's not talk about that. All right. What I can say is that I think one of the coolest things to come out of this is that Taylor and then Joey B and Mixon and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, like, this franchise is showing that if you just put the faith in your coach and your front office as an owner, and you let them do what they think they need to do for a franchise, and they're good at it, you can turn a team around in 3 years. This was a bottom of the barrel Bengals team 3 years ago. The first overall pick. They're absolutely terrible. And now they're coming around and beating perennial favorite Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. Like, this team is something special, and I think we're going to see the Bengals in this situation, in this AFC Championship game, a lot more in the future. But everything went right. We said it. Joe Mixon finally found those lanes. T. Higgins stepped up whenever Jamar Chase was being double, triple covered. Both Jamar and T had actually had a couple big drops that would have made this game a lot closer, a lot early. So they need to work on that going into the Super Bowl. But then on the NFC side of things, kind of went as expected, but not as expected, because the 49ers hold the Rams to 20 points when everyone thought this was going to be a blowout. So the Rams win 20-17. Jimmy G finally threw a touchdown in the playoffs. That was great. But he also threw an interception at the worst time. And then on the LA side, we had a running game that never really got started, never found its stride. But then again, on the receiving side, Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham both over 110 yards. But this just felt like everything was going right for the Rams, except finding the end zone consistently.
What it looked like was, you could tell the Rams had more power than the 49ers. They had more offensive weapons. They had more defense one. It It was ugly, and I was talking to you during the game, and I felt like Stafford was going to choke, and he composed himself, and he found his favorite two targets, Cooper Kupp and OBJ. He relied on them dominating. San Francisco played a hell of a game. You know, Debo tried to carry them on his back. Garoppolo actually came up and looked like a quarterback. He is going to get paid this offseason, but the Rams just had too much, and they just got it done. Really clutch to score 13 points in the fourth quarter to make that nice little comeback. It was good. I'm glad, because I was worried about Stafford. I was worried that he was going to revert back to Detroit days, and he didn't. So it's going to be really exciting that they're playing another home game in 2 weeks.
Yep. If you can say it's a home game, I think half of America is rooting for the Bengals at this point, right, Nate? Like, I feel like there's going to be a lot of orange and black in LA at SoFi Stadium. But on the 49ers side, I think everything looked so good for this team up until the fourth quarter, and then just kind of fell apart. What happened? Were the Rams able to shut down the 49ers, or was it just the 49ers doing Jimmy G-led things?
I felt like, first of all, I feel like the Rams played just an absolutely insane game, and having multiple big targets for wide receivers is something that can't be understated, how important it is with how much is on the line. Because, like you said, Jimmy G getting his passing touchdowns, they played a really strong early game, kept it close, had a lead for a little bit. Watching this one made me sweat a little, because I'm on team. I want Stafford to get his ring, but just Deebo Samuel, and he's great. He is phenomenal. He's fantastic. He did all the things that you kind of expect, but obviously that Rams defense was going to have their eyes on him. It is so hard to have to, trying to hit targets like that with Ramsey on the field, with Donald coming at you. And like, you really got to see how the whole being a complete team, like this is somewhere where I feel like the 49ers were coached into a pretty competitive game, despite, a difference in terms of how much talent is on each team. But that's the talent kind of overwhelmed on the defensive side at the end for the Rams.
Yeah, it's wild. Watching this game, George Kittle was just shut down. I mean, 2 catches for 27 yards. Now, granted, one of those was for a touchdown, but I mean, and whenever they're shutting down Kittle and they're holding both Debo and Ayuk to catching half of their targets, it felt like everything defensively fell in line for the Rams, and Stafford didn't have to play hero ball. Sure, they threw the ball 31 times, but a lot of that came in the fourth quarter of trying to catch up.
Yeah, they made Jimmy throw the different targets. They blanketed Kittle. They wasn't letting him get those big third down catches. They had to run the ball, which they struggled to do, and they had to find different. I thought they were gonna be fine, because they found Brandon Ayuk early in the game, on those like backside slants and everything. So I was like, oh, that's cool. But something happened. They couldn't go to Kittle, which is Garoppolo's security blanket. So they just fell downhill, and hopefully they'll address it in the offseason. But once again, the Rams did what they needed to.
Yeah. It's wild. We talk about running the football a lot on this podcast. I don't know. I think we're all fans of ground and pound football. And both of these teams felt like they couldn't get it going whenever it mattered. And I feel like that's probably going to be a problem in the Super Bowl against a team like the Bengals. But let's thought Deebo Samuel held to 26 yards on the ground, and Eli Mitchell held to 20 yards. But then on the opposite side of the ball, Sony Michel and Akers did not look good running the ball for the Rams. It felt like neither of them could get it going, and I think that's what led to the low-scoring game. All in all, Nate, let's talk about this. Like, the Rams were going to have to switch things up in terms of their game plan if they want to have a chance against the Bengals, because that 70 yards on the ground isn't going to cut it against the Bengals.
No, but I mean, this game I think is still gonna. I'm gonna do the super stereotypical thing, and quarterbacks are gonna be the story of this Super Bowl. That's what people are gonna be talking about. It's Matt Stafford. Like, this is the kind of game. If Matt Stafford wins this, it's like, obviously he's not old enough to the point where we're like, oh, he needs to retire. But after that career, and then you go to LA, you win a ring. It's like you could almost just drop the mic and walk out. Be like, that's it. I'm done. I've proven everything. I've proven every single person that came out after me wrong. So I'd love to see that ground and pound. I really would. I like the players that they have. I still want to see Cam Akers getting it done for them. But that's got to be. Yeah, I don't know. It's there's going to be some passing, some quarterback heroics have to happen here, whether they're from Burrow or from Stafford.
Yep, I agree. I'm ready to see Joey Burrow. We'll talk about the Super Bowl to end the show. We'll lead into a Super Bowl preview. Though I feel like we're probably doing a full episode on the Super Bowl next week too, right? We got a big one.
You don't want to talk about all the great stuff that's going to happen at the Pro Bowl? Like,
I mean, we can.
One guy taking it a little too seriously.
Dude, I'm so stoked for the Pro Bowl. I'm one of the few people who loves watching everything they do, like the skills competitions and stuff like that.
That's the most fun part of it when they do the skills competition.
Ant's over there with a smile on his face, most likely. We can't see him right now because Mac Jones got added to the Pro Bowl.
Sorry.
Hey, you know what? Stephon Gilmore got added to the Pro Bowl. I'm stoked. We got two Panthers over there, Brian Burns and Stephon Gilmore. I mean, I'm a Bengals fan. What are you talking about? Screw the Panthers.
God.
Yeah. But let's talk about what's happening around the league. It has been an interesting 2 days for the league because all of this news coming out over the past couple days. Let's hop into the big news. Brian Flores is suing the NFL for alleged racism in the hiring process, with him firing shots at basically everyone. And Ant, you're close to the situation as you know, he's former Dolphins head coach. A lot coming out, but some background for everyone before we let Ant go. He's alleging that there's discrimination regarding his interview process with Denver and New York after his firing in Miami. A lot of this comes from saying that, hey, you know, the Giants selected Daboll to be their head coach before they even interviewed Brian Flores, which would go against the Rooney Rule. But Ant, what's going on with this?
It's something that maybe it's about time that it came to the limelight. It was Flores is disappointed. He went to the Giants job to interview, and they're asking him questions that are outside the norm. It was reported before he even had the interview that they was going to ask him about the power struggle that he had with the Miami Dolphins. So it was already weird that it was reported that they was going to talk about it. And then when he interviewed with Denver, John Elway, who does the hiring over in Denver, came in hungover. And then that text script came out between him and Bill Belichick. Of course, he was an assistant for Belichick. And Belichick saying, congratulations to the wrong coach.
To the wrong Brian.
To the wrong Brian. And, you know, Belichick couldn't revert back to it. But at the end, and then in Miami, Stephen Ross was saying, I'll give you $100,000 for every loss that you do in 2019. That was the year when Burrows and everybody was going to come out. He wanted to tank. Brian Flores said no, kept winning ball games. And then the next season, which was this season, there's a lot of rift. He didn't talk to people. He shut everybody down. But the thing with the problem with the NFL going is we don't have that many minority coaches. We talk about Eric Bieniemy from the Chiefs. Why doesn't he have a job right now? Which is crazy because he's been doing a fantastic work. The only thing that's been hired right now, if I'm not mistaken, is Brian Leftwich. He is the front runner in Jacksonville. So Flores is just bringing something to the surface that needs to be talked about, because that Giants job, I'm really surprised. Yeah. I'll be honest. I thought he had the New England connection down pat. So the fact is, we're not done with this topic. I know more is going to come out by the time our show next week is. But the matter of fact is, this has been an issue, and it always will be an issue until we start making some significant changes.
Yeah. I mean, and it also comes down to the fact that the Rooney Rule is a sham, right? Like, Brian Flores is saying, yeah, he interviewed with the Giants on the 27th, but then Daboll was announced as the hire for the Giants the next day, right? Like, Like, so you're just doing an interview to save face for the Rooney Rule, and then he brought up there's some other things that have been brought up, about like Steve Wilkes' tenure in Arizona was a great example that was brought up. Prominent black head coach brought in to rebuild it and was given a rookie quarterback in Josh Rosen, and was fired after one season. Right, had one subpar season, they fired him, and then the next year, Cliff Kingsbury, a white head coach, goes in, has just as bad as a season as Wilkes did with a rookie QB in Kyler Murray, and was given the benefit of the doubt and allowed to lead the team moving forward. So a lot of things coming from Brian Flores as well is that hey, a little bit more transparency on why these coaches are being fired whenever these aren't in the same situations, right? And I get it, I agree with it. There seems to be an increased scrutiny whenever it comes to the situation. And it sucks. We want to see more diversity in head coaching talent, and Nate and I can sit here and probably talk till we're blue in the face, but at the end of the day, we are white passing guys. So, Ant, thank you first of all for being a voice for that. And we just want to see better talent. You're right. Eric Bieniemy should have been a head coach 5 seasons ago.
My thing is that's really, it hurts because the league is a predominantly like minority type of team. There's a lot of black people, a lot of black players, and they want to see coaches that they can relate to. That's why the number one recruit went to Deion. Mm-hmm. And he can relate to it. It's something that he feels like he can make change with. We talked about these HBCUs making like big upcomings for like players that usually will go to another D1 school, and it will give us hope. It will give kids growing up hope that they can do this, and it just changes need to be made. I'm not blaming it on Goodell because he's been doing everything that he can, but at the end of the day, the owners are playing it safe, playing it comfortable with people that they feel like they can relate to, and it's time. Brian Flores is going to shake things up, and I'm glad. Because it needs to.
It's a bit of a reckoning. Outside of even this specific instance, this isn't the only drama that they've had. Mm-hmm. They've had issues with getting legal documents, and they had to settle that giant case with the city of St. Louis. Mm-hmm. And of course, they're still going back and forth with the government about everything with relation to the Washington football team. As far as I'm aware, that case isn't even completely closed yet. Mm-hmm. So NFL's got a lot of messes on their hands and a lot of problems to solve, and hopefully we can get productive resolutions going into next year.
Yeah, it's a shitty situation, and I hate it because one, you're right, Ant, like there needs to be coaches that represent the diversity of the league, and two, they're more than qualified. Again, Brian Flores is a qualified head coach. Eric Bieniemy should be a head coach. Yet you have teams out there interviewing Josh McCown for their head coaching position, and he's a legitimate contender over those guys. Like you. As a football fan, like, okay, as a first and foremost Panthers fan, and you're telling me my choice is to watch Josh McCown, Brian Flores, or Eric Bieniemy being my head coach, why is Josh McCown in that conversation?
Coaching. I think he was coaching high school.
Yeah.
But he's coaching high school right now. We got a 2 assistant. We have a former head coach that literally had a positive record in Miami. And then we have another one that's been behind fantastic coaches, been learning, and is just ready to just take the lead role. But we're talking about Josh McCown. Last year, Joe Judge. Oh, my God. We're talking about a special teams coordinator that never called plays, but he gets the head coaching job. Now, I'm not knocking Brian Dable. He did a fantastic job with the Bills. But, let's talk about the firing in Houston. Why, after 1 year?
Why David Culley gone? He had a 4-13 record with the situation of Deshaun Watson over his head, a rookie quarterback who looked good, and they made strides in the latter half of the season in improvement under David Culley. It makes no sense to get rid of him.
No.
So now they're interviewing Josh McCown. All right, that makes sense. Hey, Houston, enjoy your time in the basement. Speaking of the Broncos, who was brought up, the Broncos are officially up for sale. The trust of the late owner has come to agreement to put the team up for sale. They're expected to reach a record-breaking price. That means they would break the price of the Panthers that were sold 5 years ago for $2.3 billion. Now, I think what's interesting about this is we've heard rumors that John Elway and Peyton Manning both want to be in on buying the Broncos, but they are a part of separate ownership groups that might be bidding to buy it. Like, Nate, let's talk about it. If you're a Broncos fan, who do you want owning the team, John Elway or Peyton Manning?
Oh, one of the only reasons, one of the biggest things that got me into caring about football when I was a little kid was watching John Elway. And I'll be real with you, I never had the same kind of connection watching like Peyton Manning as I did, because I was a little more towards high school, a little more focused on my team. But I don't know. I guess I can't put myself in the shoes of somebody from Denver. I'm curious what a real Broncos fan actually thinks about this, because in my mind, I'm like, of course I'd want to be owned by the greatest player that's played for my team. But I mean, obviously people can have their own discussions because Peyton went there and had a lot of success. But how I see it anyway, I don't know. Why can't everybody just work together? Somebody wants to be the boss.
I think we've had a conversation about Peyton Manning in the past. I don't want him to be the owner of the Broncos because I want him to continue doing comedy everywhere.
I can't stand you because I was literally about to say that. Oh my God. I was waiting. I was like, I'm going to say it. I want John Elway because you know what? I love Peyton Manning I love him on Monday Night Football. Chicken parm, you taste so good. I love his commercials. I do. So at that point, I want John Elway to be the owner.
Dude, Peyton's little cameo on Saturday Night Live this week where he did a breakdown of Emily in Paris was probably one of the funniest things. If you haven't watched it, he breaks down this rom-com TV show as though it's a football game, and Emily's navigating her exes on the football field, but they're her ex-partners. It's hilarious. And he gets to talk about fashion, which is great. A little bit of college news. Former OU quarterback Williams is transferring to USC to no one's surprise, following Lincoln Riley from OU to USC. And we've talked about it in the past, but this just feels like Lincoln Riley had a little bit of tampering before he was hired in USC to get all these recruits to come from OU to USC and kind of make them a powerhouse in the Pac-12, which is like being the best at dodgeball when you've been held back 7 years in high school.
Yeah, it's kind of fishy. You are literally loading up your team so you can be the Alabama of the West Coast, and yeah, it's weird. This is how do you get this?
I don't know. At some point, they're gonna have to bring it up. But that's just the cool thing. Williams is transferring. I think Spencer Rattler's transferring away from OU. So OU losing both of their quarterbacks. Have fun in the SEC. We won't miss you in the Big 12. Getting back to the NFL. We've talked about it for a couple weeks. The Raiders' job has been the most attractive from what we've talked about. The Raiders and the Bears have been kind of the most attractive. And, of course, the Bears have hired their head coach. And they're now also, by the way, the Bears are interviewing Joe Brady for an offensive position on the staff. Interesting to see what he does there. I don't think he should be an OC again. Maybe make him like a run or a pass game coordinator and then let him work his way up to OC. But, Nate, Josh McDaniels wins the Raiders job. Let's ask the burning question. Is this going to be different than his time in Denver as head coach?
I don't know. Like these, I honestly, I don't have good answers for this because I felt like the Raiders ended up doing so much with so little, and everything that happened, all the crap that took place this season for them. I still kind of scratched my head a little bit about the guy that they had that was taken over in the meantime, especially with the way that things were able to turn around. But and you make quarterback excuses. He's gonna have an old Derek Carr. So would I say that Derek Carr's been playing better than the Denver quarterbacks have? Yes, I would. So if the quarterback situation was the big problem for him, we should see the Raiders getting 10+ wins next year.
Didn't Josh McDaniel have Tim Tebow as his quarterback in Denver?
Ow.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
It's hard to hold it in.
do you think? I mean, let's Nate kind of set that up. Do you think McDaniels is the answer, or should they stuck with guys whose last name we can't pronounce?
And I'm confused because you had your intern coach that rallied the team from a really rough season, and you went with McDaniels, which he has proven to not do well as a head coach. And then he stayed around in New England, right? Yeah, he stayed around New England. I thought he was going to take over for Belichick when he retired, because he denied a few coaching interviews in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
only to go to the Raiders. I don't know. I hope. I mean, Derek Carr, he might be something. I think he's better than Sam Darnold, so I think that'll be fine. And then I think it's going to be very interesting. You okay?
you just had
I think
to
it's
throw
gonna
that
be
in there,
good.
didn't you?
Oh,
It's okay. I'm a Joey B fan. I'm a Joey B fan.
No, that's
Tell by the
good.
jersey. Yeah.
But I think it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really weird. I agree with both of you. They had a head coach. I don't understand why they didn't just drop the
They
interim.
had a head coach. They had a head. Being able to get wins when your team isn't super great is hard, but it's awesome. It can feel rewarding. It can feel fulfilling. Getting wins when your team isn't supposed to be super great and you have an apocalypse amount of stuff that's going on outside the field, and being able to keep everything together and at least be able to go out there and play competitively when there are teams that have everything kind of lined up for them that still can't play competitively. Cough, cough. My team, we didn't have that drama. We had half the wins, less than. So, why? I don't know.
Oh my, yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. But another absolutely dumb news in the NFL, the Washington football team's new name is coming out tomorrow. Unless you are as dumb as the Washington football team continues to be and puts up the new name of your team in the window of the pro shop at the stadium in Washington, D.C. So the Washington football team is officially the Washington Commanders. Listen, I don't know. Out of every name that was a possibility, I feel like this is the worst one. You should have just stuck with Washington football team.
Wow. Come on, the Commanders? What? I don't want to say that.
No.
I don't.
No, they're less cool. Team. They were more cool when they didn't have a name.
True.
Or they should have gone full replacements and taken Sentinels.
Or gone with the Red Tails. That was a cool one. It was throwback to.
I'm not going to claim to understand everything and all the intricacies of every issue that exists, but I didn't hate the idea of paying some sort of homage to the history of the country if there was a respectable way to do it.
Correct.
Or involve the proper parties to be able to come to an agreement on something that wouldn't have a negative light put on it. But it seems like they've just settled for what's a generic. This is like when you play Madden and you accidentally sim a couple seasons and they just change one of the team names and they pick the worst thing, like the Blue Beavers. Like, oh, we've got the Commanders. Like, great.
I would have took the Blue Beavers over the Commanders.
Yeah, I mean, and at least the Red Tails, was an homage to the Tuskegee Airmen, which is an awesome, it would have been a cool homage to such a monumental part of American history. Instead we have
gonna do that.
Yeah, Dan Snyder wasn't. So I really hope they're pulling a fast one on us, and that sign in the window was a prank, and they're gonna be like, by the way, no, we're kidding, we're still a Washington football team. Like, that's what I'm hoping. But yeah, we'll see. News comes out tomorrow. And then last under the top storylines, Jimmy G being interviewed, following everything that's happened, has been talking about, obviously, he's going to be traded, right? He's still in contract. Where's he going to be traded to? And all he said is that he's traded to a team that is hungry to win. So obviously he's not going to Carolina. With Matt Rule, they're not very hungry to win. But I mean, what some likely landing spots for Jimmy G? First that came to my mind was both the Bucks and the Saints, two very nice looking landing spots in the NFC South. Specifically the Bucks. Jimmy G could slot right in there and play well with that team. I don't know, Ant, Nate, do you guys have thoughts on where he might be able to land?
I can tell you the Bucks are not in consideration because I'll talk a little bit later, but they're going to be taken care of. So Saints, yeah. I think maybe I'm about to say Jacksonville. Maybe Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh's a good spot. They got a team. They just need a quarterback.
Yeah,
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Pittsburgh sounds like a pretty great spot for him.
Yep. But there's some moving parts too, right? Like, where's Rodgers going to be? Where's Russell Wilson going to be now with Tom Brady out too? Is Kirk Cousins staying put in Minnesota? So, there's a lot of likely places that he could end up. But only time will tell. We can do a rookie recap, but we already talked about Jamar Chase and Creed Humphrey. Listen, they were probably the two best rookies remaining in the league. Jamar Chase had a down game, only had 54 yards. And then Creed Humphrey gave up a sack, but for the rest of the game looked pretty solid. Again, Creed Humphrey for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I know all of the voters for that award are listening to the regular season, so vote for Creed Humphrey for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now the big news of the week. It was reported, and then it was refuted, but the report stayed, and then it was confirmed. Tom Brady, after 22 years in the league, has officially retired. I thought that was a middle finger that you were doing the tear with, Ant.
Oh.
But let's talk about it. Listen. All right.
Huzzah!
Everyone listening right now, we have two AFC East fans with us right now. I've only had to deal with him for 2 years, right, in the NFC South. But let's talk about Tom Brady. We can't deny he's the greatest quarterback of all time.
We can't, but to just quickly set the record straight, he played 22 seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm 28 years old. So, Tom Brady started playing and ruined my childhood when I was 6 years old. I didn't understand anything about the world. I didn't know about memes. We didn't even have the internet. We couldn't go on here and talk about this, or maybe we did. It was, I think dial-up was becoming a thing in 96. But I hate Tom Brady. Absolutely. Could not think of a player that I despise more
Now, hold
for
on.
my whole career fandom of football. But man, did he have an incredible career. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with him anymore.
Let's talk about why you hate him. Tom Brady, 7-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time Super Bowl MVP, 3-time NFL MVP, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, 1-time Comeback Player of the Year, 3-time First Team All-Pro, 3-time Second Team All-Pro, 15-time Pro Bowl, 5-time NFL passing touchdowns leader, 4-time passing yards leader, 2-time passer rating leader, 2-time completion percentage leader. NFL 2000s All-Decade Team, NFL 2010s All-Decade Team, NFL 100 Anniversary All-Time Team, 2-time Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year. He also won a national championship at Michigan. Most Super Bowl wins with 7, most Super Bowl appearances with 10, most Super Bowl MVPs, most career quarterback wins, most career passing attempts, most career passing completions, most career passing touchdowns, most career passing yards, most pass completions in a season, and longest touchdown pass for 99 yards, which is tied with probably about 12 other people.
Yeah, I mean, he's incredible. Him being in your division basically just meant all the other teams are in the shadow realm for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's the reality of it. As a Jets fan, the thing I remember the most wasn't making the playoffs or anything. It was just beating Tom Brady in the divisional round in like one season, and that's it. That's the only thing I have. And it's not even that we took anything away from him because he just went and won like the next year or whatever. But it's just the presence that he has being in the league was so huge because of that. Like everybody's like, oh, who's gonna make it from the NFC? Because we know that the Patriots are probably due since it's been 2 years.
It's been 2 years. Ant, let's talk about your love for Tom Brady.
I don't. He's the GOAT. I will make sure I will say that he's the GOAT. But
He is.
He terrorized my Dolphins for so long, for 20
Wait, did
20
he
years.
terrorize the Dolphins, or did poor coaching and GM work and a subpar
Don't do that.
owner
Don't do that.
do that to you?
No,
let's face
don't
it.
do that.
Good coaching doesn't always trump talent. When there's enough talent there, Tom Brady literally took so many games that just should. Name wide receivers. He gave half the people that he played offense with a career because they were so good and they had so much success every single time. Bill Belichick's hiring a new coach. Tom Brady's putting up massive touchdowns. They get a job somewhere else. It's like, what did you actually do on the Patriots? I don't know. I got Tom Brady coffee. Then he won 20 games and somebody else paid me millions of dollars to lose for a season.
Except for 1 year. Except for 1 year when he had Randy Moss, and somehow he brought Randy Moss back to life. You name his receivers. We can start with Deion Patton. Haven't heard from him after he won the Super Bowl. He made Wes Welker and Julian Edelman
Danny
household names. Danny Amendola. These guys are 5'8" at best.
Hey,
made them fantastic.
Tom Brady loves his Texas Tech receivers and his Texas Tech running backs. What's up, Sammy Morris?
That's cool. That's cool. We can talk about the running backs he had. You remember when Corey Dillon, he was a problem child in Cincinnati, never could get past the first round of the playoffs. He goes to New England with Tom Brady, wins the Super Bowl. He is so annoying. I'm going to tell you a little story about Tom Brady and why I hate him. Got a story for you while my camera got muted again. Look, I was second year down here in Florida. No, first year, Disney College program. I was sitting there. I was hyped. I had a Sunday off. I called out from work. I was going to watch the Dolphins play the Patriots. I was like, we got this. This man proceeded to drop 55 points straight. We kicked the field goal on the opening drive. I said, this is our year. We got this. He scored 55 straight. I proceed to drink a whole bottle of Southern Comfort because I needed some comfort to watch what Brady did. And he didn't break a sweat. We didn't try. I love and hate him. I hate him the majority of the time. I just respect his game because he's like the GOAT. But he did this in Miami every single year. We couldn't go far. We couldn't do anything. I'm sad.
Would you say your favorite memory of Tom Brady is whenever he left New England for Tampa?
That was it. That was the time that, look, there was no hope. There was no hope that we were ever going to have a chance of being able to win our division until Brady was gone. Because think about it this way, okay? I'm gonna present a side perspective on this. I'm gonna make this up, but level with me. You're a free agent. You could go to let's say it's like 2014. Like you could go to a team like the Eagles, or you could go to, let's say, the 49ers or the Seahawks. They're great, right? All these different options. And even if you liked the guys that were on the Dolphins or the Bills or the Jets, who in the hell is going to say, yeah, I'm going to have a career year as a defensive player if I go to the AFC East where Tom Brady can cook me twice a year and there's no chance of us getting the division anyway? Like the level of power that a guy like that has, the presence he has to control it, I would not be surprised if it even affected other players' decisions on which teams they would go to. And that's just another, I guess, way of just tipping the cap to him, because I do agree, outside of all hatred because he destroyed my childhood, Tom Brady is the best quarterback to have ever played football. And it is a privilege to have been able to watch him play, even if it was, making it so my team could, obviously never win anything ever.
Yeah,
I think he retired because he got bored. That's what's it. I really felt like he woke up and he was like, "Why? What's the point? I'm gonna win. I'm gonna go to the playoffs. I'm gonna do this." He didn't want to do the 2-a-days anymore. He didn't want to wake up in the summertime in August. I think he literally got bored. Like, it's kind of like Thanos when he snapped his finger and he did his job, and then Thanos went back home and just sat down. That was Brady. Brady just sat on his porch and was like, all right, time for somebody else to shine.
Yeah.
But real quick, I just want to talk about it. The Buccaneers are fine, because you know what happened? The same day Tom Brady retired, there was one person that was trending. I should have screenshot. It was one person that was
Jameis
trending,
Winston.
and his name was Jameis. Jameis is going back to Tampa. He is going to lead them to the promised land again. I'm telling you, comeback player of the year, MVP, Jameis. I snuck him on the show.
Yeah, I'm going to ignore that
Why
you said
not?
any of that. So it's obviously well known. Tom Brady was drafted 199th overall in 2000, meaning that every team passed him over multiple times. Let's take a quick look at the 6 quarterbacks that were drafted before Tom Brady in the year 2000. The Jets used the 18th overall pick on Chad Pennington. Hey, hold on. I got you too, Ant. Pennington played 11 seasons in the NFL with the Jets and the Dolphins. Got both of y'all covered. In which y'all both paid him a combined $51 million. And he's now a high school coach in Kentucky. The 49ers drafted Giovanni Carmazzi, that wonderful name, in the 3rd round. He actually never played an NFL game, spending 2 years on the 49ers practice squad and then played in the World League of American Football and the CFL. He's since described himself on ESPN as a yoga practicing farmer in California who owns 5 goats and no TVs. The Ravens selected Chris Redman. Yes, that Chris Redman, that as a backup for the Falcons. He's part owner of an indoor arena football league now. Tennessee took, the Pittsburgh Steelers took T. Martin out of Tennessee in the 5th round. He played 3 games in 4 seasons before going to the CFL. He's now wide receiver coach for the Ravens. Then the wonderful Mark Bulger out of West Virginia was taken by the Rams. He then, or taken by the Saints, spent 8 seasons with the Rams, made $55 million somehow, and is now a professional curler.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goat.
Yeah.
The goat right there.
I can see why they were all drafted ahead of Tom now. Now it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There was one more before Tom Brady, and that's good old Spurgeon Wynn out of Minnesota. Was taken by the Browns. But did you say who? Yeah, I probably mispronounced his name because I've never heard of him before. He played 3 games in 3 seasons. He's now an energy broker in somewhere here in Texas. I bring this up because this is a cool stat. The 6 quarterbacks drafted before Brady combined to start 191 games and throw for 258 touchdowns. Tom Brady won 278 games and threw for 710 touchdowns. Listen, no hate on Chad Pennington. Guy had some moments in his career, some fun moments, that y'all can probably attest to. But when it comes down to Tom Brady, everyone was an idiot in that draft and passed him up. But again, if you look at his combine picture in video, dude looked like
legendary.
Dude looked like he had been playing Legend of Zelda in a basement for 8 months before and never saw the sun. And then was like, oh yeah, I'll go throw football. But he is the greatest of all time. Listen, I think the NFL is going to be at a loss without Tom Brady. I feel like we lose a little bit of the entertainment factor. We lose one of our biggest villains, as you two have so eloquently put it for 15 minutes about how much you hate Tom Brady because of how he ruined everything for you. But at the same time, Tom Brady, I mean, for better or worse, love him or hate him, made the game of football better for the 22 years he was there. It was always fun to see who would beat Tom Brady. Of course, the 2 saviors we got were Eli Manning and Nick Foles. So
that's gonna be a trivia question right there.
Yeah, it's gotta be. I mean, obviously, 25-3 will always be a meme. Thanks, Falcons, for not making Matt Ryan one of those answers to a trivia question. I appreciate you guys just absolutely flattering that Super Bowl win. But there's gonna be no one like him. Huh? 28-3.
28-3?
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes without saying he's going to be in Canton, Ohio in 5 years.
I feel bad for Big Ben because he retired the same year, meaning he's going to get the backup thing for when they go to Canton. It's going to be all about Brady, and then, here's Big Ben.
Also one of the greatest of all time to play. It's like...
I think he needs to play one more year so he doesn't be in the same class as Brady.
And it's wild because with Tom Brady and Big Ben, because they are, I mean, for most of their career, were different styles of quarterback. Because up until like 2 or 3 years ago, Big Ben could move. And he did. But in 22 years, Brady held on to almost a dying breed of quarterback, of being a traditional pocket passer who couldn't run. And it was all about, if I can't get the ball out of my hands, we're throwing it away and we're moving on. We're moving on to the next play. And the NFL has since evolved away from that. You know, Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, even, Carson Wentz, Justin Herbert, Teddy Bridgewater, like Jameis Winston, Tua. Like, you can name all these quarterbacks that are all dual threats in the way that they play. And so I think with Tom, you're seeing one of the last, like, homage to old school football kind of walk away from the game, because even Aaron Rodgers in his 18 years has always been someone who can run the ball if he has to. Tom Brady took something like 12 or 13 seasons to hit 1,000 yards rushing for his career. So didn't have two rushing touchdowns in a game until he was like in his 40s. It's wild. But hey, salute to you, Tom Brady, the greatest of all time. It'll be interesting to see what Tampa does. I know Ant saying Jameis, but they did take Kyle Trask in last year's draft with the purpose.
Trash?
He played at UF. He's not trash. He's okay. But with the purpose of him replacing Tom Brady. I mean, you can't replace Tom Brady. But I think, half that team, or most of that team's still under contract, so it's not like they're losing a ton of pieces either.
I wouldn't want to fill his shoes, but if anybody can, it would be Jameis, because Jameis would put different shoes on and keep going, because he has that type of mentality. I'm just saying.
Oh my god. All right. Anywho.
No, well, just wait. You can't deny the power of Jameis when he comes back.
I can, and I will. Because I shared a screenshot with these guys. Bleacher Report did a thing of like where quarterbacks are likely to end up next season, and they had Jameis ending up in Carolina.
I'm game.
Listen, I'm a Bengals fan now.
You're good. You're good for another 10 years with Joey B. You good as long as he doesn't have to keep running in it and getting sacked.
God, he's gonna die with that offensive line.
I think Jameis with the eye surgery can compete with any quarterback in the league.
Well, listen, here's the deal. As of right now, Jameis Winston is the best quarterback in the NFC South.
I mean, they
got Sam Darnold, Matt Ryan, Kyle Trask, and Jameis Winston.
I just don't like the way you said that, because it's not just because it's by default. It's because he's actually a good quarterback.
No, it's by default, because everyone else is worse than Jameis Winston is.
Well, let's blame the team.
We have a Jameis Winston
million.
index now for quarterbacks. If you don't hit a certain amount of yards, you're trash.
He wasn't trash last year. That was your index.
Yeah, he was trash.
That was your index.
Yeah, and then you started agreeing with it.
Sam Darnold is trash. $19 million trash.
Yeah, he is. I agree with you. I'm not denying it. But I can't wait to pay Sam Darnold and whoever else they bring in to play quarterback there. Hell, take Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. He's got to be better than that.
I still don't get that.
I mean,
working your salary cap.
Dude, listen. And they got to re-sign Hassan Reddick and Stephon Gilmore in Carolina. It's wild because all these players want to stay in Carolina, but they don't have a quarterback.
You know what? Who do I see being a good team? The Jets. I see y'all.
For sure. Of course. We just need it. We're just a couple of pieces away, baby. We're just a couple of pieces away.
You know who's gonna turn a corner next year is Detroit.
Oh no.
I think with Dan Campbell, with that team rallying behind him, they got some early draft picks. They got a lot of cap space. I think Detroit can turn a corner. I'm not saying they're instantly going to be Super Bowl contenders, but they're going to be better than years past. Barry
Sanders, Matt Stafford. If those guys couldn't do it, there's nobody good. I I think even if we went back in time and put Tom Brady on Detroit, we would have seen like that would have been the timeline where one of those like supernovas they worry about that's gonna like reset all electronics on Earth. Like that would happen in that timeline. That's how bad that would be. But thankfully we're in the other one where Tom Brady retired after winning, Super Bowl on the Bucks. But yeah, that's I don't know.
Do you think Tom Brady wanted to possibly come back another year, but Giselle was like, "Nah, dude, you're done."
I think he wanted to. I think he honestly, my real thought process on this is he is a crazy competitor, but I think he was curious if he would fall off. I think he was actually curious if he could actually keep it up and not have that drop off that everybody else has. And he's like, well, I'm still doing it. I'm 44, and at some point, it probably was a mix of that. The family being like, Tom, look, you've clearly proven that you still got it. Do you really want to go towards 50 just so you can see if you ever get bad? And nah, come on, right? Like he's got kids, he's got a family, he's got infinite money now, so might as well enjoy it and spend that time with the people who matter.
Yeah. Keeping with Tom Brady, because that our run of shows said let's literally just talk about Tom Brady for 30 minutes. And what are the chances that Tom Brady ends up in coaching?
I don't think he wants to coach. And I blame Belichick, but I don't think he is that type of player that would want to do that. I think I see him more as owning a team. Yeah.
Maybe a GM?
Excuse me. I see him. Yeah, like a GM. I see what Elway and maybe what Peyton wants to do. I see ownership, but I don't see coaching. No, I don't think he's that type.
Yeah. What about you, Nate? I think it would be a good coach, but I kind of agree with you. And like, I don't think he will be.
Maybe in time. I don't know. He seems like he's focused on the media transition kind of stuff, right? Even mentioning it at the end of the release today when he was talking about all of it. So I think we're gonna end up seeing. Honestly, I think we're probably more likely to see him end up hosting something really big, popular new sports show one day instead of coaching.
Can we just get him and Peyton Manning and Peyton and Eli to just host something together? Because they're all funny.
Now you're cooking with gas.
A lot of petty jokes, a lot of jabs at each other.
Eli's just gonna make a joke every time, like just show up 2 Super Bowl rings and be like, "Hey, do you know who I beat for these?" Man, it's gonna be wild though, not hearing Tom Brady's name, and like he was the last. Him and Big Ben were the last of the old guard. Like this is the end of the era. I mean, Aaron Rodgers still there, I guess, but I think with Big Ben in past 2 years, right? Past 3 years, Eli, Big Ben, Tom Brady, and Phillip Rivers all gone. Like that's everyone from our childhoods now pretty much gone.
I'm okay with Brady gone.
I mean,
who is left from when we were kids? Vinatieri still somewhere?
No.
You see Nick Foles still kicking somewhere? What team? What team is Dante Culpepper a backup for?
Oh, get your roll on. Get your roll on, Dante Culpepper.
Oh my.
They're great.
I mean, hey, if we're being honest,
it is the end of an era for sure.
There are a couple people. I mean, let's be honest. Andrew Whitworth is still playing tackle in the NFL, and he's 40. So, and Jason Peters is still in the league. He's 40 years old as well. So, I mean, now, kind of the quarterback we have to look forward to carry on the legacy of the old guard is Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he's busy being shirtless in Buffalo.
You went there.
Hey, Fitz magic.
I mean,
or
I'm
Fitz
okay with
tragic. I just want to see.
So close to the play. 10-5. 10-5.
I mean, I want to see Ryan Fitzpatrick play like another 10 to 15 years solely so he can sign with every single team and be the first quarterback to throw a pass for every team in the NFL.
He could. That would be. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be. I think he's just that type of person.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is what every kid should aspire to be in the NFL. And I say that because the dude has made bank his career and has done so very little. He is the epitome of maybe I'll just show up and they'll pay me.
That's Kirk Cousins. That's Kirk Cousins. Everybody should strive to be like him. I'm gonna be an average quarterback and get paid buku money. Kirk Cousins, I'm sorry. Nah, man. Nah.
Oh my goodness. It's wild. But hey, Tom Brady's gone. The new guard taking over in the say it's a mix of the new guard and a bit of the old guard taking over in the Super Bowl. Cincinnati versus the Rams. Let's talk about it for a second because we got an entire episode next week to talk about this. But listen, Stafford, 13 years in the league, 2 number 1 overall picks going against each other. Stafford wallowed in obscurity. I say obscurity. Stafford put up stupid numbers in Detroit and never had a team around him that could compete. Had a litany of terrible coaches from Matt Patricia to Jim Schwartz. Can this storybook season continue, or is Joey Burr here to spoil the surprise, or this is spoil the celebration? And let's just Joey B or Matt Stafford. Nate said it. It comes down to the quarterbacks here. Who's going to have the edge in this game, though?
I want to let me sit on it for a week. Yep. we have another episode next week before the Super Bowl.
I think about
Nate might be a better option right now. I need to sit on it. I do.
Right. Nate, what are you thinking about this? At first glance, championship games are over. We don't have time to sit on it. We don't get to see any of the media previews. It hasn't become Super Bowl week yet.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into too much, right? Because obviously I'm very excited to have this conversation because I think it's going to be an incredible one. But the number one, here's the thing that I'm thinking about the most when I look forward to it without getting too in depth. I think about the 9 sacks on Joe Burrow, and then I think about a man named Aaron Donald. And those two things, they terrify me. I think there's going to have to be some sort of special game planning, or it could turn into something real ugly real fast, Mm-hmm. But that's going to be a huge part of it. Is Burrow going to be sneaky in the pocket? Are we going to see him take those bold 3rd down runs? I do believe that's a huge part about why they were able to beat Kansas City. The scrambles that he got were huge. Mm-hmm. But are those opportunities going to be on the table? Is Aaron Donald going to win the Super Bowl for his team? Getting a couple of big plays. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing that I've got on my mind. Just trying to think about how that O-line is going to have these next 2 weeks to get ready for.
Yeah. I think it comes down to a different matchup, and I think it's Jalen Ramsey and Jamar Chase. Who wins that battle? I think that's what it comes down to. Listen, Cooper Kupp's going to do his thing. He's going to have 150 yards. But I think OBJ is going to be held to a lot less than what we saw in the championship game, because the other side of Cincinnati's secondary that's not covering the number 1 is still good. They'd be covering number 1s on any other team. So I think it's going to come down to that Jamar Chase, Jalen Ramsey matchup, and whoever wins that wins the game.
My first bold prediction, I'm probably going to have quite a few next show, is OBJ gets more receiving yards than Cooper Kupp.
That's bold.
I think he's gonna end up with 175 yards receiving, and Cooper Kupp is probably gonna be held to 50.
Ooh. All right. And you want a bold prediction? Aaron Donald doesn't have a sack in the Super Bowl.
Are you saying that just to mess with us?
No, that's my bold prediction.
You don't believe him? Looking at you.
What? Yeah, I do.
Sure. Well, we'll see. I don't think that's the case. See, now that's all you've done now is make me. If I can put money on that on this disagreement between the two of us now, I might have to do that.
I'm a witness.
I'm a witness. Everyone head to FanDuel. We're making some bets for the Super Bowl.
I'd like to make a couple bucks off of your your terrible mistake of assuming
Do
Donald's
it!
not getting
Hey,
in.
I will say this. Tim the Tatman picked the Rams.
Oh, no.
God.
I had to do the self-censor. Okay, you know what? Joe Burrow's going to throw 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he's actually going to rip his jersey off and reveal after the rock outfit that he had getting through the championship game. I don't know. He's going to have full Richard Simmons get up on or something like that, okay? Take it to the next level. Let's get more of a spectacle going here. I don't know. Did the Tatman pick Rams? I guess. Do we even need to have a show next week, or do we just talk? Do we just start celebrating for the Bengals?
Why did he do that? It's too early.
Good, probably because every Bengals and Rams fan was having a panic attack until he made his decision. So he's like,
That's true.
"You can't make these people suffer too much." Now Rams
It's like
fans
the
aren't
human
even gonna...
groundhog.
Yeah.
It's like the human groundhog, but it's for football.
Oh man, it's gonna be a good game though. I think regardless, it's gonna be this is a good matchup. I think this is probably one of the better matchups we could have gotten out of this lot of teams in the playoffs. Because you do have two very similar teams, and that usually makes for a good Super Bowl matchup when teams are similar. So I am excited to see it, and we'll talk more about the Super Bowl next week. But that'll do it for this episode. First of all, gentlemen, thank you for joining us during your busy schedules. I know we're all busy. I'm busy trying to prep for the apocalypse that is the winter storm about to hit Texas, where I'm inevitably going to lose power. But appreciate you being here. Appreciate chat, as always. Thank you, everyone who comes in and gives us a bit of your time live. And if you are listening to us on your platform of choice, remember you can join us every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern over on twitch.tv/rdsports. If you want to follow all of us on social media, you can find all of that down below in the description of the podcast itself. We will be live next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern for our Super Bowl preview / Pro Bowl recap. Hey, you know who didn't make a Pro Bowl? You know who didn't make the Pro Bowl? A Ravens running back, because they didn't have any. Feels like we talked about the Ravens losing every running back possible 2 years ago. But no, that was 21 weeks ago. Anywho, thank you all for joining us. We really do appreciate it, and we'll catch you guys next time. Chat. Appreciate y'all. Dude, y'all hate Tom Brady.
If you had to live through him kicking your butt every year of your whole damn life until you hit your 30s, you would understand.
Now you know why I hate Drew Brees.
That's fair.
That's fair. But Brady. I'm just saying. But
The man
Brady.
went to 10 Super Bowls, okay? You know, look, he could.
How are y'all going to let him kick y'all's ass for 2 decades, yet let him lose to Eli and Nick Foles in the Super Bowl?
All you got to do is draft somebody who can beat Michael Jordan, right? No big deal.
Nick Foles. Nick Foles. 2 years removed from a Super Bowl, he's a backup.
Look, how do you pay?
He just got the greatest
Sam
bag of
Darnold
all
$19
time.
million?
Huh?
He got the greatest bag of all time. Okay,
He did.
Foles phoned it in after that. He just wanted the money. He showed up. He took the sacks just so he could say, "I'm gonna get my 70 million."
Mm-hmm.
Good God,
He
what a
said,
genius! What a
He's
genius! Smart
that
little-
man.
Y'all are insane. Y'all are insane. All right, y'all. Well, chat, thanks for hanging out. We appreciate it. Hope you all have a wonderful week. We'll be live next week talking about the Super Bowl. And whatever happens, probably a little bit of talk about the Washington Commanders.
Go Commanders.
Okay, that's how I know it's time to go.
Yep.
Great show, everybody.
Take care,
Fun
chat.
hanging out.
See y'all next time.